iPhone, and we're live at the 2019 EW Comic-Con Video Studio presented by Toyota Corolla with the cast of Carnival Row. Welcome.
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're not cast. I know.
We're not cast.
Yeah, we just.
But I like. Can you say that again, Orlando?
Yeah, beautiful enough to be cast.
Yeah.
That's the quote that we're taking away from this video. No, but in terms of fandoms interacting with people, there's nothing greater than San Diego Comic-Con. What are you guys most excited for from this weekend, this experience?
I'm excited for people to see this show.
Sure.
That's good.
Wait, stay on brand.
Go experience the activation. That's super cool.
Oh, yeah.
The activation
amazing.
really takes you into the world in a really clever way.
I've seen so many photos of people like becoming fairies, and like it looks really great. But I want to start, Travis, just like, where did this idea come from? What's the origin?
His brilliant brain.
It came from a long time ago, like 17 years or 16 or something like that.
Wow.
I wrote it in film school, and it was just sort of like,
Casual.
yeah, it was just kind of a sandbox to play in that I could just put a bunch of cool stuff and just I guess that's when you create your best stuff, because that's what got me attention and that got my career started, and it sort of languished in development hell for a while because it wasn't based on anything, so it was hard to get a production mounted. And eventually Legendary picked it up and was like, have you ever thought about making a TV show? And it was such a huge world that I really, it was really exciting. It was a really exciting prospect.
That's highly impressive. Anything I wrote in school is terrible. That's where I wrote my worst stuff, I feel like. But I want to, for like Cara and Orlando, were you guys looking to get into TV? How did this come about for you?
I mean, I love TV so much with what they're doing at the moment. It's brilliant.
Who isn't looking to get?
Yeah. Sure. But especially a show like this.
The thing where it was like, oh, this is the new medium where you can explore the long form of character, and it's like a movie.
And really dive into it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we've seen a little bit. Obviously, they released kind of the character clips for both of your characters. But for David and Tamsin, like, who are you playing? Give me a little bit about that.
Well, I'm playing Imogen Spurnrose, who is a very posh, entitled young woman, human.
Okay.
Because you do have to differentiate on this show, like whether you're a human or a puck or a fae. And some of those words are really rude, so you have to be careful what you say and how you say it. Yeah, puck is a little bit of a slur, so.
Okay.
Yeah. So I say puck quite a lot, actually, as Imogen.
Fuck you.
Yay, puck you. But yeah, so I play Imogen, and we meet her. She's like this caged bird, and she's a very frustrated kind of gossip girl, basically, in a way, who lives in a fancy house. Not the fanciest house, though.
Oh.
In the neighborhood. Good segue, thank you.
So I play a character who Imogen describes as a puck.
Oh,
so that gives
go.
you an idea of who I am. So I play Agreus Astreon. And how do you describe him? He's just like mysterious, doesn't say a lot, but when he does, it's with a lot of thought and meaning and and wonder.
Intensity.
Are you a human?
I'm a creature.
He's a puck.
I'm a
puck, sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm really not
Alright.
comfortable with how we're throwing around puck here.
I know, sorry, I should not be saying
It's a fawn.
Block your ears, everyone.
This is how politically correct we are. We're politically correct even with the fictional made-up
Right, with the
terms.
fictional, right. But Mark, you are a busy man. What made you want to get into this project?
Honestly, two things. The project itself, which it was just so awesome and so expansive and exciting, and this man,
Very
who
charming.
I really like hit it off. We worked for 2 weeks together at first, and it was like, oh, I dig this guy, and I dig the way his brain works, and man, that's
Romance.
true.
it out, guys.
And honestly, like,
Get a room.
who wouldn't want to be part of
Can
this?
you guys
you know?
give us a second?
They've got a couple in the corner.
It made so much sense to me.
Yeah. I mean, just to set up for people who don't know, like just the basic premise of the show. Travis, do you want to give us the premise spiel?
Yeah, it's a little difficult to describe, but I guess the best way to describe the premise would be to describe the world. And imagine a world that's cut into two hemispheres, humans on one side and all sorts of non-human creatures on the other. And wars have driven the non-human beings to the human cities, where they are immigrants and struggling to be accepted and just generally making life complicated there. and that's the scope of it. But we always try to come into the story on a human scale,
Sure.
with very specific characters. And our way in here is a human detective called Philo, who's investigating a string of murders in the ferry quarter on Carnival Row. And among the residents there is a new arrival, Vignette, played by Cara here, who's lately arrived and has a kind of, I don't think it's too much to say that she has a certain history with Philo.
Sure.
So yeah, that's
Okay.
sort of how we come into it.
Okay, because my next question was, what do these two see in each other? But it sounds like they might have known each other for a while. Kind of what?
What do you mean, what do we see in each other?
Well, that's what draws them together.
What else?
How beautiful they both
What could
are.
you possibly? No, but kind of, what do you feel like? What draws them to each other?
Well, I have wings, so that's pretty
Well,
cool. I guess.
Yeah.
Wings are great. I think they're just, they're like, lovers from two cross paths, and they find each other in chaos, and it's one of those things. I think they're like caught in the eye of a tornado, and love is chaos, but then we'll see what happens.
It's a seemingly unlikely matching in the sense that a human and a fae, a critch,
Sure.
not critch, but that's the wrong word for it. A fae.
Can't believe
I
you
would
said
never call it.
You did! You did, and you will again.
A human and a fae
We have fights a lot
coming
about this.
together is
need to go back to therapy.
is like an unusual is an unusual like concept for it. So
Sure. Well, I mean, just from like the little bit I've seen, the look of the world is stunning. I mean, how much went into like the actual just physical look of the show?
Oh, it's really incredible, and the example I like to use is because it is obviously a show with a lot of scope and a lot of scale, and the city is very grand looking, and all the backdrops are very beautiful and impressive. But one of my favorite things on Carnival Row, which is a street that's actually built in Prague on a backlot, and one of my favorite things that the story of this neighborhood is it used to be a working class human neighborhood that these immigrants have come in and sort of assimilated as their own. And on the corner is what used to be a human barber shop. And on the window are painted like haircuts that you could get, like human haircuts. And whatever faun or fae has moved in has like drawn horns over those human silhouettes. Because they've adopted the shop as their own, and I think it's such an interesting detail because it says the amount of thought that's been put into every little detail of this world,
Sure.
and that it's very big, but it's also the devil's in the details.
I was about to say that. It really makes
Yeah.
it, though, the details,
Yeah. I would imagine that would help actors to walk onto a set that is that intricate to get into character.
Oh, absolutely.
I think most people think as well that because it looks like it's so green screen, but that most of it is built. Like it really is. The amount of prosthetics and details, it's so easy to get lost in this world if you just walk around, and all the trinkets that most people wouldn't see. It really is so realised.
We have this really great character called the Horror Specs, and she has this shop where you go and get potions, and Vignette visits it, I think, first, right? And it's just... you walk into it and it's kind of like going into some natural history museum, but with the oddest jars full of like a saline solution with things hanging in
Mole
bits of
rats
brain and
and-
mole
yeah.
rats and the strangest characters. But it was literally like you would just an explosion for the mind, and that really represents
A visual
the rest
feast.
of it. Yeah,
Visual
the rest
feast.
of the rest of Carnival Row.
They have an activation thing here.
Yeah.
What's the technical name for that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
activation.
That's right.
Thank you. You're welcome. So they have an activation thing here, and we did that yesterday. And I think we all felt like so you start off in a marketplace, and then you go through that, and then you're into the brothel. Is that the right word?
Tetterbury Hotel.
The
Tetterby.
Tetterbury.
Tetterby Hotel. So my character never got to go on the row.
Okay.
But the change in atmosphere from going from one space to another, I would say, is so much like being on set. And you were saying about working with me in the horns and how that...
Yeah, so David has like 3 hours of makeup every morning for the horn. He has this incredible prosthetic and hooves as well. So for once, I wasn't the only person wearing heels in the scene.
Yeah, I mean,
they're like
why do
these
you wear
incredible-
heels? Why do that?
Yeah,
Don't
they're like
do it.
these incredibly
Stop it.
constructed hooves that are like a pair of high heels. But when you see, like you were saying, Cara, like when you see the show, it feels like maybe there's a lot that's been added in post. But actually, for me and David, like everything on the screen was on the set, and that's like stepping into this whole new world that's just fully realized and just playing in that. It's really cool.
It's a
The
world you
whole-
haven't seen before as well,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is super. Like, I remember when I first read the script, I was like, I haven't seen this world. This is unique. It's
To me,
like,
it's the epitome of fantasy, really, because it really is fantasy. It's like an adult's playground, really, for your dreams.
But there's also like so much humanity in the characters, and I mean, one of my favorite scenes early on in the show is a tea party, and like, I mean, we've seen tea parties in period dramas, but you've never seen a tea party with a lady in a corset and a man with a very impressive set of horns.
Right. Right.
And to me, like, it's the intricacies of like the social dialogue, and that were really exciting to play, because you're playing the period, but you're also playing this whole other kind of collection of
in a very
things.
real way, right?
Yeah,
so
in a
the
very real
horns and
way.
everything, it's not like an Alice in Wonderland, like where you're kind of in a fantasy. It's like a very tangible feel. So you can really relate. And
Smell it.
And it's very specific, like creature design challenge too. Like when you're putting it through the paces, because it's like, it's one standard if you're doing like a show that's straight up action, and this thing has to play in chases and it has to play in an action sense. But it's like these makeup jobs have to play in extended dramatic dialogue scenes as if they're human.
Yeah.
And so maintaining that humanity in like designing a creature that is clearly like mystical and not human. I think that was an incredible sort of design challenge, and it's worth giving a shout out to our creature effects guy, Nick Dudman, who is like a veteran in the industry. He did Jack Nicholson's Joker and the first Batman. He did Harry Potter, and so it helps a lot to have somebody like that minding that area of the store.
Sure. Well, it sounds like in the golden age of TV, you all have managed to create something that's not out there. So congratulations just on that alone.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see more of it. Thank you guys for stopping by.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having us.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.